Keith David is in the house. We're so excited about the preacher right here. Silver Throat, you may have seen him on Emmy. He's obviously Emmy-winning actor extraordinaire. We're so excited to have you here today. Love your work.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
For the show.
Yes, indeed.
It's been an incredible opportunity for us to have you, aka Silver Throat, here with us today. We know that you have done just decades worth of some of the most iconic film and television. You always wanted to be an actor, right?
I did. I always wanted to be an actor. And, you know, today I am living my dream, literally. I mean, I dreamt of being an actor my whole life. I'm doing it, you know. So when I think about it, at any time that I get ready, that my mind or my ego wants to tell me to complain about something, I kind of, you know, I'm a Gemini. So
I'm a Gemini.
My twin, I call him Duncan because he's yo-yo. So I say, shut up, you know, just be quiet, you know, because there's nothing really to complain about. I mean, you know, every moment of every day is not perfect. It doesn't go the way I want it to go, but there are too many times when it shouldn't go the way I want it to go. Because if it went the way I wanted to go, I'd find some fault in that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, you know, accepting life on life's terms, you know, and I think the greatest lesson I've learned in this life is acceptance. It ain't always going to be like I like it. Don't have to be. I don't have to like it. I just have to accept it, and then I can choose whether or not I want to deal with it or not.
Yeah.
That's such an important lesson. We love watching season 3 of Greenleaf right now on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Tell us a little bit about your experience with the show and working with Oprah.
Again, I'm living my dream. I used to, when I was 7, I wanted to be a preacher. When after 17, I really realized that I didn't think the wherewithal to be the kind of preacher that I wanted to be. I mean, I didn't want to be what my great grandmother used to call a jackleg, who talked the talk but didn't walk the walk. So I didn't want to be that guy. So I mean, acting is my ministry. You know, I can be an actor, and I can be a preacher, I can be a lawyer, I can be, you know, any number of things. But you know, what do preachers do? They tend to your spirit. They give you some kind of spiritual awakening. They give you some kind of spiritual guidance. And what do actors do? I mean, in the best sense, what we do is we give you a reflection of life that makes you think about your life, makes you think about life in general. If I play somebody and he reminds you of your neighbor, or he reminds you of your uncle or your father, well then, that's kind of ministry. I mean, and it's a wonderful thing. I want that life to be reflected back to you. It doesn't always have to be life-changing in a big overt way, but sometimes in a small way, because sometimes I play somebody who you absolutely would like to be like. Sometimes I play somebody who you absolutely don't want to be like.
So you're such an icon. Your voice you have this confidence, this, you know, obviously you're very trained. What are the habits? What do you do? Obviously we know about the mindset and getting blessed and all that, but what do you actually do? And your voice is so crisp. It's amazing. Like, was it always like that? Was it something you had to develop along the way?
I studied for a long time, and I continue to study. In fact, I'm preparing right now on November 30th. I'm going to be opening a new show. It's called Here's to Life. It's a tribute to Joe Williams. I'm playing Joe Williams with the Pittsburgh Jazz Orchestra. And I have a little gig in New York, so I'm going to see my teacher in New York, because you never stop studying.
Nope.
I mean, there's a line in the Joe piece where he says, you know, the longer you do this, the more you know, and then the more that you have to consider the many ways in which you want to improve it and do it better. You know, so you gotta keep it going.
What else would you attribute to your success as an actor? Obviously, you're a lifelong learner, deep focus on appreciation and gratitude, clearly resilient. But what would you say has led to your success?
Preparation. I knew. I knew I wanted to be an actor my whole life, but I am not arrogant enough to think that I could just walk off the street and play any part. I think that that's the biggest misnomer in my business is, because when you're doing it right, you make it look easy. So it looks like anybody can walk up and do it. And then you have these, they have these shows on that give you the delusion that you can sleep on the ground until 3 o'clock in the morning and get on some kind of show, and suddenly you're going to be a star. Well, that's not the way it works. If it does work that way, it's exception and not rule. You have to study. You have to put the time in. You wouldn't. If a guy walked up to you and said, I've read a couple of medical books, and I think I can. Can I be your doctor? Would you let him look at you? No. You have to put the time in. Acting is a craft, and so you have to learn how to do it. And there are any number of approaches. I just watched something the other day. And Jane Fonda was talking about how her father worked at the actor studio, and she went to the actor studio. She was there with Marilyn Monroe, and she said, "Now I don't know what I do." And I kind of feel that way. I've studied for a long time, different methods. You can call it this, you can call it that, and put somebody else's name on it. Stanislavski, all blah 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 blah. Now, I don't know what you call it, but I do what I do, but I put enough time into it that at this point, I'm not putting any name on it, but we can talk about these things.
Yeah.
Are there any roles or projects that you're still dying to play in a dream world?
Oh, of course. I want to play Paul Robeson. I want to play Frederick Douglass. I want to play King Lear. I want to play Cyrano. There's any number of things I want to do. Miles to go before I sleep.
Miles to go. And in these miles, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, dear God. Just like one of the things is like Dr. King said. I want you to know that Keith David tried to love somebody, especially my family, but tried to share the love that I've experienced in my life, to be nice to another human being, to learn how to care for another human being, to greet another human being the way I myself want to be greeted, and to spend my time doing things like that. There's enough, horror and ugliness in the world. I don't want to spread any more. And God knows, listen, I have to quell the beast inside. Sometimes I want to shout out a few old Nebraska cuss words. But where does it get me? Most of the time, if you think somebody if you call them that, it's not going to make them any less. So I just excuse myself. I tell you what, you can go and be that by yourself.
So tell people where they can watch you, tune in.
Stay tuned on Wednesday nights at 10 and at 7 for Greenleaf on OWN.
All right, so exciting. What was it like when you got that call?
Over the moon. I was like, again in the Joe show, he says, when I accepted my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, I simply, after all the accolades and everybody made all their announcements, I simply said, "Praise God, from whom all blessings flow." And that's after I hung up the phone and after the yay and all the hoopla goes off in my head, you sit there quietly and you say, "Oh my God, thank you, thank you."
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's a pleasure.
so much. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.